The sun hung low in the sky, casting golden rays over the small village of Ndemu. Dust swirled in the air as children ran through the narrow paths between mud-walled houses, their laughter filling the air like bird song. It was a village where everyone knew everyone, and nothing ever seemed to happen without the whole community knowing. That was why, when the whispers about a strange event began to spread, no one could ignore them. It all started with Mosi, the quiet hunter who lived on the outskirts of the village. Mosi was known for his skill in tracking and his ability to bring back the finest game, but he was also known for his solitude. Unlike other men who gathered in the evenings to tell stories around the communal fire, Mosi preferred the company of the forest. He rarely spoke unless spoken to, and when he did, his words were measured and deliberate. One evening, as the village prepared for nightfall, Mosi returned from the forest with a look of unease on his face. His usual confident stride was replaced with hesitant steps, and he carried only a single rabbit, a strange sight given his reputation as a skilled hunter. The villagers noticed but said nothing, only watching as he disappeared into his hut. The next morning, Mosi went to see the village elder, Baba Tembo, a man whose wisdom was as deep as the river that bordered their land. Baba Tembo listened as Mosi described what he had seen, a creature unlike anything he had ever encountered, standing at the edge of the forest. It had the shape of a man, but was taller, its skin darker than the night, with eyes that gleamed like fireflies in the dark. It had watched him without moving, without making a sound, and in that moment, Mosi had felt something he had never felt before. Pure, unshakable fear. Baba Tembo's face grew serious. He called for a gathering of the village elders, and that evening they sat beneath a great baobab tree to discuss Moses' account. Some believed it was a wandering spirit, angered by some forgotten transgression. Others thought it might be an omen, a sign of misfortune to come. Whatever it was, they agreed that caution must be taken. Days passed, and the village continued its routine, though an air of unease settled over the people. The children no longer played as far from their homes, and the hunters stayed closer to the village. Mosi, however, could not shake the feeling that the creature was still out there watching. One night, as the village slept, a scream shattered the silence. It came from the western edge of the village, near the river. The people rushed out of their homes, carrying torches and weapons, only to find Kofi, the young fisherman, trembling and pointing toward the trees. "I saw it!" he gasped. "The thing Moses spoke of! It was standing right there, watching me." Panic spread through the village. The elders, trying to maintain order, decided that a group of the strongest men would go into the forest the next morning to see if they could find any signs of the creature. At dawn, Moses led the group into the forest. They moved carefully, their spears ready, their eyes scanning the shadows between the trees. Hours passed, and just as they were about to turn back, they found something. Large footprints, too big to belong to any man, pressed deep into the earth. The tracks led deeper into the forest to a place the villagers never ventured, the Forbidden Grove. According to legend, the grove was once home to an ancient being, a guardian of the land who had vanished long ago. No one had set foot there in generations, fearing that disturbing it would bring misfortune. The men hesitated, but Mosi, driven by the need for answers, stepped forward. The others followed reluctantly, their grip on their weapons tightening. As they entered the grove, an unnatural silence surrounded them. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then, from the shadows, it emerged. The creature stood before them, taller than any man, its body draped in tattered, dark cloth. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, and when it moved, its steps made no sound. The men froze, fear gripping their hearts. Then, to their shock, the creature spoke. Its voice was deep and echoed as if it came from the earth itself. "Why have you disturbed my rest?" it asked. Baba Tembo, who had insisted on coming despite his age, stepped forward, bowing respectfully. "We mean no harm, Great One," he said. "We only seek to understand. Our people are afraid." The being regarded them for a long moment before speaking again. "Long ago, this land was pure. The rivers ran clear, the trees stood tall, and the people respected the balance of nature. But now, greed has tainted the land. The animals flee, the rivers dry, and the trees fall without thought. I have returned to remind you of your duty." The men exchanged uneasy glances. They knew there was truth in his words. The village had grown, and with it, the demand for more land, more resources they had taken without giving back. Baba Tembo nodded solemnly. "We have been blind to our actions. What must we do to make amends?" The being raised a long clawed hand and pointed toward the village. "Restore the balance, honor the land, and I shall watch no more. Fail, and my presence will no longer be a warning. It will be a reckoning." With that, the creature faded into the shadows, leaving the men standing in awed silence. They returned to the village and told the people everything. From that day on, the villagers changed their ways. They replanted the trees they had taken. They fished only what they needed, and they honored the land as their ancestors had before them. And the creature, it was never seen again. But on quiet nights, when the wind rustled the trees just right, some claimed they could hear a deep voice whispering through the leaves, a reminder that the land was always watching. And so, the village of Ndemu thrived, its people living in harmony with nature, their fears replaced with respect and understanding. And the story of Mosi and the guardian of the land was told for generations, a tale of caution, responsibility, and the ever watchful eyes of the earth